Hello, everyone, and a very warm welcome to all of you. Um, we want this session to be a highly interactive session. So can I request you all to turn on your videos, please? Thank you so much. All right. So let me begin with a very quick introduction about myself and our organization. Let me share the screen once more. All right. So I am Vijeta Raghuram, the Program Manager Education at IndiaBioscience. IndiaBioscience is a not-for-profit organization which is partially supported by the Department of Biotechnology. We are hosted inside TIFR National Center for Biological Sciences in Bengaluru. Now, IndiaBioscience strives to act as a catalyst and a facilitator to strengthen the life science ecosystem in India. And we do that by engaging with the academia and government, and also engaging with and working for educators, students, researchers, and various science professionals. And how are we doing this? So we are doing this by enabling networking among life science professionals across India and abroad, by increasing the visibility of Indian scientific research and opportunities, by helping the science professionals develop their skills that help them to navigate various science careers, by establishing IndiaBioscience as a node for discussion on policy matters, and last but not the least, the education vertical, which is focused on the biology educators like yourselves who are teaching biology at the undergraduate level and higher, to connect with each other, to connect with researchers, and also offer a platform to you all for discussing teaching biology, how to teach biology and various aspects of biology education in India. And today's meeting is an effort in this direction. Now, we are trying to do all of this through a myriad of mediums, through articles, books, webinars, podcasts, workshops, and meetings, both online and offline, and so on. But to say more specifically about what we are doing for educators, we have a dedicated column on education. And in fact, a lot of biology educators have contributed to it, and we will be hearing about some of them. We have books on pedagogy. We have meetings, workshops, webinars. We have online discussions. In fact, very recently, we have moved our online discussions to the social media platforms under the hashtag Educators Monday. So on the last Monday of every month, we post a question on the social media platforms, and we want to engage the educators who are on these platforms with the answers they give. And, we want the conversations to then flow organically and see how it goes. We also have curated resources, curated educational resources specifically for educators, and these are curated from across the world. We also have a database of researchers. So in case you're looking for a researcher in your vicinity, in your city or town, and or of a particular area, or using a particular technique or a particular model organism, maybe for collaborative work for your students, internship, and so on, then I would suggest that you can take a look at the interactive database of researchers that we have, and you might be able to find the right collaborator for your work. And we also post advertisements of jobs, grants, and events that are suitable for educators from across India. All right, so with that we come to the latest resource that we have for educators, and that is our latest compendium called Teaching Graduate Biology. So I have the compendium right here with me. It is about 165 pages long, and it compiles and it features select articles, the summaries of select webinars, transcripts of select podcasts, and various resources that we have published on our website from 2019 to around the end of 2022. So yeah, so this will be the hero of our meeting today. And if I look inside, so we have a total of 7 themes that get covered in the compendium. We have interviews, we have articles talking about pedagogical techniques, about student misconceptions. Then we have undergraduate research, articles about virtual learning, about policies and practices, and last but not the least, about mental health. So today we will be going over these themes one by one and trying to engage you on these themes, either through direct questions or through polls. And what I'll be doing is basically, I'll be introducing one theme and then posing a question to you. And if you're interested in answering it, then please raise your hand using the raise hand option, and we will unmute you. And of course, when there are polls, we'll ask you to share your answers using the polls or the chat box. We will be giving only 10 minutes for each theme so that we can cover all of them. And so I request you all to keep your answers short. And of course, 10 minutes is a very short time, I understand. So if you want us to have a longer session, a full-on session maybe, on any one particular theme that is featured in this compendium, then please let us know through the feedback form, which we will be sharing at the end of this meeting. And of course, the 5 most interactive participants today will be receiving a printed copy of this compendium. Before moving ahead, I have to announce that this meeting is being live streamed on YouTube. So the viewers on YouTube, if you wish to join this very, very interactive session that's happening on Zoom, please do so by using the registration link that is getting displayed in the description of the YouTube video. Joining me today is also Karishma, our Executive Director, and Shrutika Rait, who is interning with us. And Shrutika will be interacting with all of you through the chat box and through the polls. And we also have other team members here. Manjula, hi. Arushi, thank you for coming. All right, so before we get on with the meeting, let's have a quick poll.
Vita, Ankita is also here. Sorry to interrupt.
Okay, sorry.
Ankita is right here, but she's hidden somewhere in the participants.
Yes, I cannot see her right now. Okay, hi, Ankita. All right, so we are a short team and we are all happy to welcome you all here.
True, Vijita. We are a small team, but full force.
Yes, absolutely. All right. So, Shrutika, can you please launch the first poll to get to know our audience a bit?
Sure. The poll is live.
Okay. We can keep the poll active for a few more seconds, maybe 15 seconds or so, and then you can share the results after that.
Sure.
Maybe we can stop the polls now if there have been enough.
With us today, we have 70% of educators in biology. We have educators from other disciplines, 6%, we have 9% of students, and we have from other backgrounds about 15%. And the people who have gone through Teaching Graduate Biology Volume 2, uh, more than 15% have read one or more articles in it. About 27% have only pipped to it, and 58% are yet to open it. So we have
All right. All right. Thank you, Shritika. And I hope after this meeting, more and more people will look into the compendium and find something of their interest. All right. So let's get started with the first theme. Now, the first theme is on mentorship. Now, our first section of the compendium has several interviews and also talks about a few remarkable educators. And one thing that we saw common to all was the way they mentored their students and guided them through their career journeys. So the first question that I pose to you all is, how do you mentor your students? What are the resources that you tap into when you have to give career advice to your students? So if you wish to answer, can you please raise your hands and we'll unmute you one by one. Anybody? Gayatri Ramchandran, can you please raise your, we will actually, yeah, you can unmute yourself.
Yeah.
If
Am
you
I
can
audible?
briefly, yes. Okay, if you can
My
briefly
video is not
introduce
on since
yourself.
I'm traveling, but I really appreciate this effort and I love to be here. I'm sorry about the inconvenience of the background noise. So I basically love to mentor students, and I do it in my own capacity by a personalized approach. So I do it on a case-to-case basis. It differs from student to student. So it's a skill set that I apply by my own, and I do not turn to any resource per se, but it's something that has come through experience that I apply on them, and it's been largely successful. So that's something I wanted to share. Thanks.
Thanks, Gayatri. Nias Naiku, may I request you to speak next?
Okay. Good afternoon, all. Am I audible?
Yes.
So I'm highly privileged to participate in this bioscience initiative. Basically, I mentor students as per their, what they intend to do. So, what is their domain of research? What are their interests? So one by one, I personally, mentor students with respect to their research. After 1 year or 2 years, what is their inclination and in which domains they are good at, like zoology, biotechnology, pharmaceutical. So accordingly, I'm guiding them for higher education. That's all. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's a very important point. You know, each student comes with so many ideas and dreams of their own and have their own paths, and understanding what each student wants to do is itself such a big revelation, I suppose, right? And it's a big exercise in itself. We also have Ravindranath ji, who has raised his hand. Can you please?
Yeah, hello.
Yeah.
So my name is Ravindranath, and I teach zoology at Royal College, Meera Road, which is at Thana. And mentoring is a very broad word, but I think that you are suggesting something about career opportunities. So I wouldn't tackle this, taking a one common lecture, but rather that suppose now, for example, in the first year, there is a topic, let's say, on formation of pearls. Okay. So within that topic, I would tell them about where does research take place. Okay. For example, it would take place in Mandapam, or it would take place in Gujarat. Which are the areas where research on this part takes place? Or if there was something on, say, let us say, echolocation among bats, which is a topic. So you when you show them a couple of videos and you say how marine biology, where it would take place, what does it need for someone to become a marine biologist? If somebody wants to become a marine biologist, what does one want to do? If one wants to do scuba diving, what does one want to be able to learn? These are the things that, you slowly develop in them an interest. So if you're talking to them about, say, birds, something on birds, so then you get them into ornithology and you tell them what would they want to learn and what would they want to do on the field. So everybody would have their own interests. So I don't go and take a lecture on career opportunities, but would rather through the subject explore it during that time, each time, hinting at this thing, not in an on your face manner, but in a very subtle way. And this is something that you could do. Then I do find students coming up and asking me questions. And then, of course, when there is maybe a more closed, a smaller group, then you could suggest to them depending upon their family situation. Sometimes there are girls whom I know will not be allowed by their parents to go out of their city. So then I would give them some other kind of an option. So, that's kind of thing. Yeah. Yeah. So
Thank you. Lovely answer, because often we just read about concepts, but we never know what it takes to become somebody like the scientist that is being mentioned in the textbook, right?
Yeah.
So this is very good.
Yeah. Thank you.
If we can have quickly, I think we can only allow one more person here. Chaitali, would you like to share your thoughts? And then we will move to the next question.
Sure. So I hope I am audible.
Yes.
Thanks for the opportunity. For me also, mentoring is more of listening. So like I assign the topic, definitely if the class strength is suppose 30 or 35, I'll take a little smaller group of students and I throw the question and I will listen to whatever they feel like, whatever comes in their mind. So then this will also promote a discussion amongst themselves. And very well said by my previous speaker, Mr. Educator. I don't remember his name, probably Mr. Ravindranath ji. So, so when they will talk among themselves, so each of them will throw up some ideas. So this will automatically lead to various exposure of the topic, be it career counseling or be it finding some solution to some problems or in the aspect of NEP skill-based topic and all. So basically, the first thing as a mentor, if I think of myself, it will be more of listening rather than speaking. Thank you.
Thank you. Lovely. So let's move to the next question again about mentorship. Now, you are all professionals yourselves, and you would need mentorship too. So what are the avenues that you have to receive mentorship? Ratijit Malik, would you like to answer? Ratijit Malik? Yeah. Hi. I'm not. I don't think you're not audible. Sorry. Shrutika, can you hear Ratijit Malik?
No, Ratijit is not audible. Ratijit, can you check at your end?
I see Gayatri and Chaitali have raised their hands. Are there any new names? No. So Gayatri, please go ahead.
Am I audible?
Yes, Gayatri, you are.
Okay, so I mostly use LinkedIn. It might sound very strange, but I kind of cold message people who are aligned to my passion and thought processes or goals in life. And I just cold message them to find out more about them and whether they would love to share their thoughts on various aspects. So through the posts, I kind of engage. That's a sort of mentoring that I turn to. It's a very broad sort of mentoring. And to be very specific, my father is my best and closest mentor. He's a teacher himself. He was a teacher himself. So he's a great inspiration for me to be in science. And apart from my father, it's also a couple of other mentors whom I would say my colleagues also. They are also my colleagues down my career. So that way I've built a network of mentors and I would love to keep expanding on that. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. Yes, indeed, social media is one of the strongest sources of mentorship as well as information. I think LinkedIn has been a very powerful resource for many of us. Does anybody else? Ratijit, do you want to try again?
Yes, sure. Am I audible right now?
Yes, you are.
Hi. I am working as a teaching fellow at HA University and I'm teaching undergraduate students. So I think if I were to turn to a mentorship, I think I do talk to my colleagues who are far more experienced and they have a lot of expertise in the particular field. So that's one way I turn to them before I jump into teaching students. And my father is a doctor, and my brother is doing research in epigenetics. So I do talk to them as well before I have to talk about any fundamental topic to the students. So I think these are some sort of mentorship avenues, as you spoke, I turn to and I take help from before I engage and indulge myself in teaching the students any conceptual topic. And definitely there are other resources which I do take into consideration, and I try to keep myself updated before the core learning happens with the students. It's not only one way of teaching, so it's like I'm learning from the students as well. So it's a mixture of an amalgamation of all these things.
Yes, senior peers as one of the most useful resources. Thank you, Ratijit. Monica Kaul, actually, if you raise your hands, it will be easy for us to spot you. Shrutika, can you help me find Monica Kaul?
Yeah, I've unmuted.
Okay, yeah. Monica, please go ahead and share your answer.
I'm Monica and I teach in Hansraj College, University of Delhi. So I teach undergrad students. So most often, especially when we are conducting practicals and all, and if we have any, things where we kind of are stuck and all, we look up to our senior faculty teachers who are from different colleges as well.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes we often have meetings where the course committee people come together. So a particular group of teachers who are teaching a particular course in various colleges. For example, I teach ecology and I teach embryology. So our seniors who are teaching the same subject in different colleges, we meet at regular intervals, say once in 3 months, to discuss how can we improve on the methodology, or I am facing certain challenges conducting an experiment. So we talk to our seniors and they tell us how to tweak the experiment or how to change our setups or even change our apparatus in order to get the desired results. So I think it's the best way, coming together, people who are teaching the same subject, they know what are the issues and what are the challenges. And this help comes very handy. And seniors are always ready to help. I guess Geeta ma'am, who used to teach in Gargi College, is also here in this group. So we would talk to teachers from Venkateshwara, teachers from Miranda, and we come together from different colleges. Senior teachers we also do workshops, so that the youngsters who are inducted, they are also told, because the university curriculum is same throughout all colleges. So often it happens that we do kind of workshops also if there's some new edition in the syllabus, so that we have some things which are kind of processed properly and the information is passed on. So that's how we rely on our fellow colleagues a lot.
And having a local network of educators whom you can talk to, isn't it? That's
actually Delhi University has around 70 colleges and around 25-30 colleges have biology where we teach botany and all. So there's a lot of crosstalk happening during evaluation. We meet, and there also we discuss stuff. So it does happen often.
Thank you, Monica. I think we touched upon some very important resources for mentorship, be it LinkedIn or be it our own seniors within the college, outside the college. So I think, all in all, having a network to depend on is very important in any profession, but also especially in the profession of education. I see a lot of hands going up. Okay, maybe one more so that we don't run out of time. Saurabh, would you like to speak?
Yeah, thank you. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah, I'll just quickly add one. It's not mentorship per se, but a resource. I think a lot of literature on education research, and sadly or unfortunately, mostly from the West, about new pedagogies. I find that very useful. So yeah, just wanted to add that.
Thank you for saying that, because that helps us to move on to the next theme, which is on pedagogical techniques. And I would also like to add here that Saurabh has authored one of the articles which has featured in this particular section. So Saurabh, maybe then I'll just ask you to share a few words. And may I also know if, I think, all right, Saurabh, why don't you share a few words about the article you wrote on gamification? Yeah. Saurabh, yeah, you should be.
Yeah, I think, yeah. So I think, just a small modification. I think the article is about using games in education. So gamification is usually used in the context that, you give points and there are like scoring charts and ranks, etc. What I think the article talked about was using games. So one of the very popular games was this game called Fold It, which is like a computer game where students can fold proteins, and it has a scientific basis. And what I realized was that, many of the students, and I'm sure it's a common experience of all educators, that games really motivate students, right? And we usually think of it in a negative context, that, they're addicted kind of to gaming. But at the same time, I think games can be used as pedagogical tools. So the article talks about like a few such games. And what I also tried, I think after I wrote the article, we actually, as part of our introductory biology course, we tried to come up with our own game on cell signaling. And it was a physical game which we played in the playground, where the boundary was the cell membrane, and then different students were different components of the cell, and then some kind of signaling was happening, and we designed a set of cards, etc. So it was some work, but it was a lot of fun. And yeah, so I think the article talks about some of these possibilities. And yeah, if someone wants to know more, I think we can always please reach out. Yeah.
Thank you, Saurabh. Aniruddha, are you here? Would you? I mean, we have one more author here, Aniruddha Dattaroy, who used memes in his classroom as a teaching tool. So, Aniruddha, would you like to share a few words very quickly about what you did?
Sure. Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thanks for this opportunity. I think it's great for all of us to get together and share our ideas. So yeah, I'm a faculty at NISER Bhubaneswar, and I teach evolutionary biology and ecology. And both of these are very popular courses. So I have very small number of students in my class, only upwards of 120 odd. So therefore, it becomes very difficult to, have means of assessing how they're doing during the course. So there's a small history to how I started this, because the previous semester I was taking ecology, and one very easy way to get out of this situation of having to assess people is to do quiz. And you can do Google quizzes in a Google form, so that all the results are collated and all that. And because this was during the COVID time and people were at home, and one problem with such an assessment is that if you give them enough time, they will cheat. They are going to use other means to make sure they answer correctly. So something that I did was to make sure I give them less time. So I have 30 questions in 15 minutes. So there you go. I mean, if after that, if you're able to cheat, then you probably deserve to get good marks. But besides that, a lot of people, so I gave some really bizarre options in it. Some options that were definitely not right. And
There was an option called Govinda dance, right?
Yeah. So
Some animal.
Yeah. So one of my questions was at close prox. So I taught them about honeybee waggle dance, and so how they dance in order to find out food proximity. So there is a waggle dance.
Some students chose Govinda dance.
Yeah, some students chose Govinda dance. There was a disco dance and Govinda dance, which I thought were, it's like Kaun Banega Crorepati. 50% of your options are gone. You just have 2. But people chose Govinda dance, and I was I was just wondering what has really happened here. So have people just done it just for the heck of it, just for fun, or what has really happened? Then I asked people, and then I saw people sharing memes on the internet, saying 15 questions, 30 questions, 15 minutes. What can one do? And I wasn't really happy with people sharing memes on the internet. But actually a few of the students came up to me saying, very sorry, but I mean, we have the habit of doing these internet memes to make things humorous. So that sort of, struck a chord. And then I realized, okay, maybe memes is something that I can use as a means of an assessment. Also more so because the word meme is actually an evolutionary term. It's coined by Richard Dawkins. So meme basically means a behavior that keeps changing over generations. But what I was unfamiliar with is internet memes. They're basically these pictures that can be actually used for a different purpose.
That's fantastic. Aniruddha, I mean, one thing what I loved about this was that not only did you choose now, using memes as an assessment tool, but you also bonded with your students through it, isn't it?
Yeah, I think the most surprising bit of all of it, besides having to see a lot of really good memes, is the fact that the students finish the assignment one day before the deadline, which is unheard of. Because I'm sure all of you as educators know how students tend to procrastinate. They will do it right at the 11th hour, submit either on time or well after the deadline. For this assessment, they did it one day earlier, and not only that, everyone was supposed to submit one meme, and then people were having so much fun making these memes that they submitted 4 to 5 memes per person. So that made our life difficult, but it was great. And this year, I actually gave GIFs. So GIFs are also these are basically short videos, and through that, if you can explain an evolutionary concept, and I think even that was pretty good. So yeah, it was good fun.
I hope you can write an article about it then. So now you have
about GIFs. Yeah. Sure.
We have Rohan Gawakar. I have unmuted you. Would you like to share something?
Yeah, very good afternoon, I would say. Thanks for organizing this. I hope I'm audible.
Yes.
Yeah, since it's all about pedagogy and there's a quite varied experience, expertise people around, but teaching biology, I want to share my experience. I learned this at ISER, Pune, and the pedagogy which I'm going to talk about is a research-based pedagogical tool,
Right.
which is popularly called as RBPTs. Many of them must have been aware of this terminology. I still use that in my undergraduate class, where research is a component as a pedagogy and not as an active research project. And the best part I have seen is the satisfaction the students do and get after doing research for understanding a simple concept. Now, the $1,000,000 question here is that how do we complete the syllabus if we continue everything doing research based? So for that, I use one simple funda which I have developed myself, and that funda is called as a achari concept. Achar is nothing but pickles. So concept of pickle, select a topic where students can do research, which is maybe dry, but research can help it to make it more interesting. And use it like a pickle. Like we use pickle to, escalate the taste of our plate. There are different types of pickles available all across. So use it as and when you want it. So the best part to use this pedagogy is have a well-developed lesson plan. And I owe this to ISER Pune, where I was trained for RBPTs. We had a session at Sonipat in IIT, Sonipat, Delhi, before the lockdown, where I was a trainer there for biology. Many of the colleges of Delhi had been part of it. So that is one wonderful pedagogy, which is very novel, where we
Did we lose?
Introduce. Am I audible?
Yeah, your voice broke there for a few seconds, but you're audible again.
So I guess I just wanted to share about this beautiful pedagogy, which is research-based pedagogical tool. So it's like a pedagogy and not a research project. A research project is maybe a part of curriculum, but using research to teach a concept. Like for example, if I want to teach fermentation, I ask students to gather the waste and do a research on that how you can use that waste or a sugar substrate to convert it into an alcohol, and how you can learn the basics of fermentation at each level as your project proceeds. So that was something which I wanted to share. Thank you very much.
Research as a pedagogical tool. Thank you so much, Rohan. We in fact have another section on undergraduate research, and we will be coming to that in a bit. Now, before we move on to the next theme, I wanted to have a poll just to get a sense of how much have novel pedagogical tools penetrated the Indian classrooms today. Because we often, when we think of pedagogy teaching, we think of blackboards, OHP sheets, PowerPoints, where a teacher is teaching, students are listening very intently, making notes. And in exams, the classrooms are really, really quiet. Very, very different from the energetic atmosphere of, imagine if these memes were happening inside a classroom. I'm sure the classroom wouldn't have been a quiet one. So just to get a sense of how popular are the novel pedagogical tools like flipped classrooms and things like that, we have a poll now. Shrutika, can you please launch the new the second pedagogical
slide?
Okay. Maybe a few more seconds and we will stop the poll. All right. Do you think we have enough responses to end the poll? Yeah, Shrutika, go ahead and share the poll results.
So we have 18% who use flipped learning as a technique. We have 61% who use problem-based learning. We have 57% who use inquiry-based learning, 21% who use gamification, 18% who use other techniques, and 11% say that they prefer to use traditional teaching practices only.
Thank you so much for sharing this. I hope with time, these novel approaches will gain greater ground, and that there are enough avenues for teachers to explore them. All right, so we will move on to the next theme. And or before that, let me just quickly see if there are any questions here. No, okay. So the third theme that we will talk about today is unraveling students' misconceptions. Now, in spite of all the effort that educators put, learning gaps and misconceptions can, enter in mysterious ways. And the third section in our compendium features articles where educators have tried to identify, recognize these misconceptions and offer ways to address them. And the one thing that we can notice in these articles is that by designing assessments carefully, it is possible to reveal these misconceptions. Because unless a disease is diagnosed, how do you treat it, right? So identifying a misconception is an important step. So the question I would like to pose to you all is, if there is one thing you would like to change about the current ways in which learning is assessed among students, what would it be? Yes, please raise your hand. Use the raise hand icon if you wish to answer. Gayatri, Ratija, okay.
Am I audible?
Yeah, Gayatri, go ahead.
Yeah, so one thing which I've always wanted to change in the way students are assessed is it should be real-time assessment. And it should not be like exam-based assessment, not even where you conduct kind of surprise tests or any kind of test or exam. That name itself shouldn't exist is what I feel. It should be kind of a real-time and practical approach while assessing the students. Look at how they are applying the concepts that they learn, how do they design their projects, how inquisitive they are, how creative they are. And these are the skill sets which should be assessed, because this makes them equipped for their career as well. Because education, eventually it should make you into a good human being as well as something which is where your capacity is built enough to contribute to the society. So unless you are application based and have that kind of a critical thinking, it's not essential that you get into research for this, but any field in life requires life itself requires critical thinking. So I understand that the practical approach and their creativity and their skill sets should rather be assessed and not how much knowledge they have. So it's the application of their intelligence rather. Yeah, thanks.
Thanks, Gayatri. Chaitali, would you like to go next?
Yeah, sure. So like mugging up is something that students often do during assessment. So what I feel that something that needs to be changed is like the way of building up the conception. The approaches should always be more of building the conception. So like suppose I'm doing some pollution-based studies. So like I stay in Kolkata, there are several sources of water. So we can send the students to different locations. Like Tala Tank is one of the sources which is the cleanest amongst the globe in the pan worldwide. And then there are Kolkata Municipality Corporation supply water, which are full of several kind of pollutants. So like these kind of simple tasks we can always distribute among the students, and we can let them do hands-on. So more and more hands-on things will be there. and in this hands-on thing, they will be learning many things like how to design the experiment, how to behave in the what are the approaches they should be practicing in the field, and many such many other application-based things they will learn, instead of simply mugging up the subjects, especially where the practical approach of learning is required.
Yeah, very good point, Chaitali. In fact, what was raised earlier about using RBPTs, I think you have touched upon some of that bits. And also, I mean, our next topic is also going to be about UG research, but we'll come to that shortly after maybe we have listened to a few more responses. Monica, would you like to go next?
Yes, thank you for this opportunity. See, I think it will be all over. We have continuous evaluation system. So in that, what we do is, assess the students' understanding on day-to-day basis. So midterm examinations and announce examination, I'm sure if the way we, ask questions in the question paper, it is how, where, when, what, and then the topics and the syllabus topics. So most often students can predict what the question paper is, because you have to be uniform, you have different colleges, you have to also consider equity and different backgrounds and all. So when it is assessment in examinations per se, I tell students before they enter my class that I'm sure all of you are going to get 75% if you don't even attend my classes. So 75% for sure if they study 4 days before, the way the annual examination is. You take 10 years papers and look at them and the syllabus and all. But then continuous evaluation system is very important if one does it honestly. So every lab I give an assignment, whatever we have to complete the syllabus, we have to follow the syllabus. But whatever exercise we do, whatever practical we do, I look at their auxiliaries more than their files, what they have done on their auxiliaries. So I look at how they are arranging their data, how they are looking at their data, how they are analyzing, because every class of ecology is actually a research class, because time and space changes every time we do the experiment. Sometime my lab is in the evening, sometime it is in the morning. So there will be variations in what we get. So I tell them that whatever you're doing, it's a data. And this data is different and it is important because this time and space, you are only doing this research. Nobody else does, although that's their usual practical class. So I look at their auxiliaries rather than their final practical files. I evaluate them for their auxiliaries, what they are doing in their classroom, especially for continuous evaluation in practicals.
If you can elaborate what you mean by auxiliaries. Just
auxiliary, I mean, that is, file practical. All of us are teaching undergrad colleges, in colleges, most of us. So, students have to prepare their files. So they organize their data and they write a file by looking at literature, or most often students also copy previous year's file. So because the content has not changed, the syllabus is the same. So senior file was nice. That senior files, the file of senior is circulated and people copy from it and submit it. They do it nicely. They do it in a nice handwriting and all. But when the students conduct the practicals in the class, when we are conducting the practical on the same day, before we discuss the practicals, I ask them for their rough notebooks. So we call these as auxiliary copies, auxiliary notes or auxiliary. Okay. So those rough notebooks tell me what they have done. Have they really done their experiment, or are they just going to copy paste later? Because next practical they'll bring in file along, and earlier we used to give marks on that, but now I have changed this. I look at what they do in the class. how much did they follow in the classroom. I get to know that from, how they have presented their data. Did they make graphs properly? So I ask them to do everything in the classroom. So even if they get somebody doesn't attend the class and he gets me a very beautiful file, at the end of the semester he'll get a 0, despite he bringing in file, because continuously I say that I've been observing and I've been looking at your everyday work. So it doesn't help.
Thank
So,
you, Monica. Thank you,
yeah,
Monica.
that ways, you can even increase your student attendance in the classroom.
Yeah.
Because they are conscious that you're evaluated every day. And then they don't have to waste time copy pasting file, because they know it is futile to submit a file later.
Yeah. Thank you, Monica. Tamra Lipta, would you like to share your thoughts?
Hi. Thank you so much for providing this platform to listen to all of your beautiful ideas. So regarding this, I guess what I could sum up is that assessment should be process driven, right, rather than the product driven, because it is essentially to understand, as others have also pointed, to understand how much potential a learner or a student has to achieve something, right? And basically to focus upon the journey to reach that particular goal or objective. And so I thought that in this particular assessment, we can include blogs, picture journals, vlogs. At the present time, we know that we are surrounded by this all technologies, and if they are good in that, also you can invite chat gpt, right? How can you make use of those platforms? I mean, make those as resources, not as that they use them to write their assignments, right? They can use that to build certain things, something very creative, very different, right? So I feel that it's very important to ask them their viewpoint, that how do you want to be assessed for this particular course, right? We generally do not give that opinion or choice to them. It's basically my authority, my classroom, and I want them to write an assignment or do a blog. But I feel that it's very important to ask them that how do you want to be assessed, right? And what should be your idea about the assessments? So I guess when we do that, when we give them the opportunity, they feel very included in the classroom, because they think that they are heard of. So that is my approach, and I usually do that. So they always come with different ideas, and the assessments that I keep in my classroom is very different. It's very different from one person to the other. So one say that I would like to go for a blog, the other person would say that I'll take a picture journal, and hardly there will be few people who say that I want to write a reflective journal, right? So this goes ahead. So I feel that with the help of this, you can invite everyone. They will be more attentive and they feel that they are valued. So yeah, that's my take on
I'm more
this.
excited about their, the whole learning journey, isn't it?
Exactly. So they kind of, throughout the semester, they kind of pick up the best things that they are doing so far, what is kind of engaging. But yes, what I do is that I provide them some prompts along this journey, because it should not be haphazard or some unnecessary things that come into the picture, but something very systematically done. But yeah, again, it's their choice. So yeah.
Very student centric approach, with
Yes.
the teacher being a facilitator, sort of.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Tamra Lipta. Such lovely answers, and I wish I could go on, listening to more and more of these. But in the interest of time, we'll have to move on. So sorry, Ravindranath and Aniruddha, I see your hands raised, but I hope to hear from you again in the next segments. So we come to UG, undergraduate research, and a lot of you have already given enough context to build on it. So we know that undergraduate research can help students develop a hands-on exposure to scientific methodology. Many of you have mentioned how to frame a question, how to organize data, how to design an experiment, analyze data. Also about how to understand the monetary aspect of doing research. Even that's an important aspect. right? Where does the funding come? The paperwork, how to write a paper, how to read a paper, and so on. So there are many, many things that undergraduate research can help you understand. So in this regard, do we have Anuttama here?
We have her. I have just asked her to unmute.
Anuttama has written an article in this segment about a module that she and her colleagues designed to help students learn how to read a research article. Anuttama, first of all, thank you for coming. And if you could share why you thought it was so important to have an entire module dedicated to this skill. Anuttama, are you?
Hi, thanks. Yeah, your voice was breaking a little bit. I think now it's fine.
So if I can repeat my question, I wanted to know why you thought it was important. Sorry. Please go ahead. Please go ahead, Anuttama.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, but it's rather faint.
So
Anuttama, you're not audible. All right. Anuttama, we will get back to you shortly. I think there's some audio issue.
Am I audible now?
Yes. Yes, you are.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So what we had noticed was by the time the students reach master's program or PhD, that's usually when they actually read a research paper properly. So they know to skim through it, but we have no way to understand whether they have understood what they had read. So we actually thought about assessment, how we can assess students' understanding of research paper. And secondly, how we can eliminate their fear of reading research papers. So it was not about that one research paper which they read. It was more about getting into details of any research which is like a landmark paper in the field and initiate them into the process of reading research papers. So it was really less about that one paper. It was more about getting them started and eliminating their fear and hand-holding when they do it for the first time. So it was more about that. And so we did it for 3 days. And in the 3 days, we start with the traditional lecture. And the last session is a flipped classroom, peer teaching kind of a classroom. So gradually we take the students to the flipped classroom, student-centered approach.
Thank you, Anuttama. I'm sure several audience members would like to read the article, and it can be found in the Compendium as well as our website. I see that there is some interesting conversations happening even in the chat box, and I would love for all of you to use the chat box too if you want to share your thoughts. But we have a poll right now. Shrutika, can we start the poll to just understand, our current understanding of UG research? Yeah, go ahead. Maybe a few seconds would be enough, Shrutika, and we can stop the polls. Right.
Shall I end the poll then?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so the exposure is sufficient to help them understand is mentioned by 38% people, and 24% mentioned that they are not sure if the exposure is sufficient, and 38% say no, that they don't carry out research in the UG course. For the second question, we have 57% people who say funding is the main challenge in carrying out research at the UG level. 62% say that lack of training among educators to do research is missing. 38% mention that there is difficulty in arriving at research questions that are suitable. 14% mention other reasons.
And I would encourage people to share, if they wish to, use the chat box to share what are the challenges of carrying out research, points that were not covered in the poll. And while you do that, in the meantime, I have a question to all of you. What can be done to make undergraduate research more impactful? We have already heard about, RBPTs using research as a teaching tool. And, I would love to hear more thoughts on what can be done to make it more impactful for undergraduate students. Please use the raise hand button. Okay, Saurabh, please go ahead.
Yeah, I think I'm just also picking off from some of the comments in the chat. I think Pragya has asked whether we really allow students to choose their own questions, or is it like supervisor says that, okay, this is the question. And so maybe that's one way to allow the time and maybe mentorship to the students to actually come up with their own questions, however simple. That could make it more impactful. I think Milind Watwe has done a lot of work using this kind of approach first in Garware College, then in ISER Pune. He writes a blog, so if someone is interested, can read it there. So that is one thing. The other is, I think there are definitely challenges, but if students can be integrated in the research happening in the college or the university itself. So many places try this, but I think there are obvious challenges like scale and funding and so on. But if possible, that's another way.
I see some very interesting comments. Sardar Hussain is saying, encourage questioning. Original research is required, even if it is a review. It has to be original. Shruti Hiremat says, the major challenge for research is time allotted per semester for students. I know, yeah, research should be a continuous process and not something like an examination. Karishma, I see that you have posted some question for the audience too. Yeah, very happy to see the engagement in the chat box. Saurabh, I will lower your hand. Pragya Chaube, would you like to share your thoughts?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Firstly, thank you for organizing this and for me to, it's gave me a lot of, understanding of what is happening in biology education. So I am not a biology educator. I come from a community-based research background, which is why I had posted a question that Saurabh had, also asked. So one of the things that we actually see that there is a huge divide, which is what is happening in the society and what we are training these students for. So that way, like there is this huge gap, like the skills that they are learning in the closed classrooms, it's not helping the students either. And when they are actually going on the ground, it is not helping the society as well. So there is this huge gap in what we are teaching them and what is, what we are getting out of it overall. And basically NEP to bridge this gap had actually came up with these guidelines where they had suggested community-based approaches, whether they can be involved, whether education can be more community-based and there could be more experiential learning that can be involved in, and which is why I had been like looking into all these community-based approaches, what are the pedagogies, and one of the, I had actually asked previously if somebody has employed service learning pedagogy in biology, and which is basically one of a community-based approach. So my my entire problem with the entire student research, undergraduate research thing, how we have institutionalized in the current system, it's not as much with the how the student, like how we are approaching it. The universities usually give students about 2 months to conduct a research, which is not enough for them to actually even understand the problem or form a question that they're working on, which is something that I think was also missing in the poll, that we need to have some sort of a format where students can actually go, they can actually have time to research their own questions. And obviously some of the students would want more action research or more participatory research, something that can be translated to society. Like a lot of us who went into research, we thought, what we are doing would be translated to society. For that, we need to have more community-based approaches. So obviously we do not have enough trainers who can actually take up that kind of work as well. But most importantly, I think the first step is how we are approaching UG research. That should be looked into. Like how much, what are we expecting out of it? What the students are gaining. At least, I mean, the most basic thing that the students should gain is to how they approach research, whether they are able to form questions, and not just being able to form questions, that is like the most basic thing, but being able to assess like whether their approach or whether their research is actually helping people, or it's just adding to the pile of papers that we already have in the publication cycles. So this is like one of the things that we would want the students to look at all of these things more holistically. So that's what I wanted to say.
Thank you, Pragya. Dr. Geeta Mathur, would you like to share your thoughts?
Yeah, I am a retired associate professor of botany from Gargi College, Delhi University. And at a time when there was no undergraduate research, I was given an award by DST to set up a lab in my college and to start research in the college. And this is what, in fact, it was for going and doing research in some institution, but I insisted that I wanted to start one in my college. And the reason for that was that I wanted to bring research to the undergraduate students. Since I was teaching in an undergraduate college, my aim was, I already had a PhD, and my aim was not to do research for my own PhD or anything. So I insisted that I wanted to start a research lab. And I want to share it with this forum. I have joined this forum for the first time. And I just joined it simply to see how I can help all these younger faces who are very enthusiastic looking. And I take it as a mission that I must help every youngster who wants to be a good biology teacher. So I started this, and I want to tell you my experience of nearly 40 years of a research lab in a college. So at that time, nobody thought of research in college. And I took a simple project, which was, of course, financed by DST and was a kind of an award. At that time, nobody was applying and giving research projects to colleges. Mine was probably the very first botany lab in Delhi University College. And I must tell you that what I used to do was keep some small things for my enthusiastic students. Since I kept the lab always open, the door was never closed. And the students who were enthusiastic would just walk in and say, "Ma'am, please tell me what is research. आप यहाँ बैठकर क्या करते हो? सुबह से रात तक you're sitting here. What are you doing?" So that way, my aim was to just add a degree of enthusiasm to these young minds. ये research है क्या? And then I thought of very small things related to my research work. And I would tell them, okay, when you are free in a period, you come and you can make this particular slide, and I'll teach you this new technique of doing it. And this way, I did that to many students. And then I had a tough time because too many started coming. And in fact, it so happened that even on Saturdays, at that time, classes were not held in college, but I used to go for my research work. Even on Saturdays, students used to come to just learn something from that lab. Sometimes I would give them something to read and tell them what they have understood. And this way, I feel that in every college, if you can manage a small room in your college, what you can do is just convert it into a research lab. And some enthusiastic teachers can sit there and guide the students, not as a supervisor or a guide, but just as an enthusiastic teacher, as to tell them as to what is research. Don't tell them कि अभी तो तुम्हें कुछ समझ नहीं आएगा, MSc करोगे, फिर PhD में जब जाओगे तभी तुम्हें पता चलेगा रिसर्च क्या होता है. बहुत मुश्किल चीज है, तुम्हारी जिंदगी लग जाएगी और तुम्हारी डिग्री पूरी नहीं होगी. अगर तुमने उनको ये बता दिया, जो कि बहुत पक्का फैक्ट है, I'm very sure everyone who has done a PhD has at some point of time thought, मैं अपनी जिंदगी के साथ क्या कर रही हूँ? I could have done something much better. कोई result नहीं आ रहा है. We don't understand the importance of negative results. So all these things have to come out and they have to reach the students. And I have not kept any record for my own reasons because I didn't want to keep such records. But ever since I started that small research lab in Gargi College, the number of students who went in for further studies and PhD drastically increased.
That's amazing, Dr. Geeta. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing these beautiful bits of experience from our audience, with our audience. Unfortunately, we are really pressed for time. So
I do, I understand.
I'm so sorry, Dr. Geeta. I wish I could hear more of your beautiful words. And maybe, maybe we should invite you sometime to share more thoughts about.
We'll be happy to do that.
Thank you so much.
Enthusiastic audience, but that's all.
Yes, I think the audience is quite enthusiastic, and we even have some questions for you in the chat box if you wish to answer. But due to time constraints, please forgive me.
I understand.
Thank you so much. Punjab Singh Malik, would you like to share some thoughts? But very quickly, we'll have to move on to the next.
Yeah, I'll just take 2 minutes. Thanks for giving this opportunity. And I would like to share the success story we have. I am from Meerut College, Meerut, the Department of Botany. And the previous speakers talked about the gap, the things we do in the lab, it doesn't match with the problems in the field. So in same way, like earlier we had this problem, the things we read in the textbook, and when you go to the workbench, you don't see the same thing. So the issue with undergrad students, like when they run the gel, it doesn't look as good as it looks in a research paper. So we had these issues, but then we had this DBT Star College Scheme support. And using funds from that, we got good strengthening of our laboratories. And now we have networking with research institutions in National Capital Region and in Delhi. So what we do is, like earlier, let's say, students were isolating plasmid DNA, and at the end of the day, you have like 60 tubes with plasmid DNA, and you don't have place to keep them. And this one practical, and next month they will do something else which has no connect with the previous one. And students, they were also, lost in, where this research is going. Why do we, do these experiments at all? So then we had some networking and with faculties from ICGB and NIPGR. What we requested them to design few small experiments which can be completed in a semester period. And with the implementation of NEP, the National Education Policy 2020, we do have research projects at undergraduate level. We have vocational courses. So what we are doing at this moment is for last 2 years, we are connecting their curriculum with the projects and the vocational courses, say for mushroom cultivation. So what we are asking them to grow some mushroom using particular agriculture waste, which is more prevalent in this region, and then look for different microbial species which are there in the composting process. Another thing is like you clone a gene, you do the PCR, then you clone it into some expression vector, make proteins, do STS page, do Western blotting and all that. And then you check for, after purification, you check the activity. And can you believe it? Like in one, I'm just talking about this academic session. We started this thing with a collaboration with ICGB and NIPGR faculty in New Delhi. So our students, with the support of this mentor groups is like MSc and PhD students. They have cloned 17 genes. I mean, all you need is like a pair of primers, and they have cloned 17 genes from a bacterial species, and then they are in process of characterizing it. So things are going somewhere now. At least they have a, the aim and objective. So before this, they were just doing individual practical, and then things were not connected. So I guess, and now we have fundings from UP Higher Education Department also. We have 30 research projects assigned to different faculty members in science departments. I mean, they are like 5 lakh rupees, 3 lakh rupees, but that is enough to involve these research, students at undergraduate level into this research project.
Thank you,
yeah.
Mr. Panjab Malik. I think you touched upon an important point here is having some collaborations with scientists, working with scientists to come up with research problems that are suitable at the undergraduate level. And this is one of the goals, even at IndiaBioscience, to link educators with researchers. And we hope to offer platforms that enable this. Let's move on to the next part, and this is a very, very contentious topic: virtual learning. And some of you have already pointed out at some things that you do in the virtual learning platforms. But during the lockdowns, during the pandemic, virtual learning was the only mode of learning available to us. But today, that's not the case. Thankfully, the lockdowns got over last year. So we at least are not pressed to use virtual learning as the only option anymore. So in today's terms, when you have the option of in-person classrooms, you also still have the option of virtual learning. I want to understand, what is your current thought about virtual learning platforms? For this, we have a poll. Shrutika, can you please launch it?
We have the poll live, guys.
Yeah. So we will be very quick here, maybe just 10 seconds, and then we can close it. I'm particularly interested what comes in the second question. Yeah, I think we can end the poll. All right, can you share?
So 50% of people do say that they still use them, the virtual learning platforms. 40% say that they use it briefly. There are 10% who say that they do not use it. And in person, more than blended and more than virtual, we have 50% of people saying that. We have 10% who say that in person, more than virtual than blended. We have 30% who say blended, then in person, and then in virtual. And we have 10% who say virtual, then blended, and then in person. And we have 0% for blended, virtual, in person, and 0% for virtual, in person, and blended.
Okay, yeah, very, very clear poll results on what is preferred. So clearly, the blended mode, I mean, the fact that still a lot of people use virtual platforms shows that it does have benefits. It does have points to, useful aspects to it. But of course, there are problems related to infrastructure, and the digital divide is very, very strong in India, and we cannot ignore them. And that's probably why the virtual mode as the most preferred response is like 0. All right, thank you for that. And we now have one question, but unfortunately, due to lack of time, I can only have one response, one answer. And already, Aniruddha shared one answer. So Aniruddha, I would like to listen to other answers this time. And okay, so the question is, share a technique you use to strengthen the student-teacher bonding online. And the reason I'm asking is that, this was one of the main problems that many educators pointed out, that in virtual mode, we cannot connect with students very well. So I would like to understand, what do you use? Aniruddha already shared one very beautiful way. Through memes, he not only assessed a problem, but also kind of, bridged, had an interesting bond with students in the process. So are there other answers you would like to have? Monica, would you like to share? And very quickly, please.
Yeah. Again, there's a lot of scope for an undergrad teacher to connect to the students and develop a bond. As Geeta ma'am pointed out, leave your room open to the youngsters. They always have questions. So I guess teachers who just come only for their classes, they are missing a lot. Be available to your students in the college corridors, in the college rooms, so that they can approach you.
What about virtually? What about virtually?
In virtual ways, again, we used to have WhatsApp group, and I teach ecology, and we were not able to talk to each other those days. So I tell them, click the photographs of the plants growing in their courtyards or in their pots, those who had those. So, and tell me which plants are those. Then everybody shared plants. So people start identifying the plants. See, they said this, then we made a kind of a rubric that these plants are common, because students were at different places. So which means this plant is a cosmopolitan in the sense it's more ubiquitous, present everywhere. This is in Haryana only. This is in Delhi only. This is in. So we engaged a lot during the online sessions as well. So plants are something very important. Students click photograph where they go, and then they share with me, and I identify it for them. Or sometimes I click a photograph and they identify it for me. So people guess. So you're always engaging. So, to be very honest, I want to share this important thing. I teach in an undergrad college, and generally it's now happening that Delhi University is involving undergrad teachers to guide students for PhD. It didn't happen earlier. So one of my students, who was an undergrad student, kept, I taught him ecology and embryology in the college. So he kept on sending those photographs, and we still connected when he left college to do his master's. But then he came back to the college and said, "Ma'am, I want to do PhD with you." So that kind of a bond, I think, if you are available to your students, and give them some engagement, which they love. Not everybody would love plants. There are many students who don't like it. So you connect to those who like one of your activities. Somebody might like something else. And when they ask you something, you respond. Then they feel that you are approachable. People can approach you. And outside classroom, I don't keep. I am not tight-lipped. I do smile and I do exchange, ideas, and so I think it's easy to connect to students because they are very enthusiastic. And Delhi University, we get best of the students from all across the country, and some are very hesitant. Some have barrier of language and all. You just approach them. I have many students from Northeast who used to be alone. Then when I make groups for ecology, I decide the groups. I keep one from Northeast, one from South, and one from Haryana, and bring them all together. So gradually they feel that somebody is also looking at these facets and the approach. I have seen that students do approach and they do like to connect if you are approachable. And first of all, you have to deliver the content nicely, of course. If you are a good teacher in the classroom, students will find ways and means to come to you.
Thank you, Monica, for sharing some very interesting ways to connect with students. I also see some interesting responses in the chat box. Dr. Geeta has shared that I have my website where students can have discussion. Chaitali says, often I started my online classes with a simple question, hey, is it sunny outside or cloudy? Many were found replying. For some that didn't reply, we can directly call their names. Very interesting responses. Aniruddha, if you wish, can you share your thoughts on the chat box instead? I'm so sorry, we've just run out of time for this session and we have to move on to the next section. Dr. Geeta, you too. Thank you so much. So coming to the next part, this is on policies and practices. And while, any discussion would be incomplete, I think, without mentioning NEP 2020. And I understand this is also a very contentious topic, but if you can use the chat box to share what is the most positive aspect of NEP and what is the most challenging thing to implement. I would ask you to use the chat boxes so that we have more and more responses in the interest of time. So while you're thinking of your responses and sharing them, we will move to the next bit. And this is the final theme of the compendium, and it's mental health. Now, IndiaBioscience has strived to bring this topic out of the shrouds of stigma and misinformation. And we have in fact had a very dedicated compendium also on mental health. We have had a podcast series, a webinar on this, and we hope to do more and more on it. Now, we have a quick poll here. Shrutika, can you
start the poll?
Yeah.
It's lost.
Okay.
Shall I end the poll?
Yeah, yes, please.
There are 59% educators who say that their college does have mental health counselors for students and educators. And we have 41% who say that they do not.
Okay, okay. 51 is a good, encouraging number, but 40 is still, it is still ways to go. Until it becomes 100%, no number is good, right? So, but let's see, I hope we'll get there. Now, there is Charu here, Charu Dogra? She said that she's getting delayed. Okay, if she's not here, it's all right. Let me see what the answers are for the NEP here. Aniruddha says, ME, multiple entry, multiple exit. I do not think this will work. Okay, Chaitali, without understanding the curriculum, people are just running crazy. Yeah, I think having this multidisciplinary curriculum is quite a challenge. Advantage, she points out, is NEP is more skill-based. And I think during today's discussion, that point came up, right? Understanding, giving the skills more importance than just what they write in the exams. The provision, Eros Kashing, I hope I have pronounced your name properly. Pardon me if I didn't. Eros says the provision for multidisciplinary courses, multiple entry and exit points, provision for UG with research degree. Not clear if this is a positive or a negative. Eros, please mention that too. Okay, Ravindranath, noted your point. We do have a counselor. Yeah. Oh, so Eros says that these were all positives, multidisciplinary courses, multiple entry and exit. Yeah, so like I thought, very contentious topic. And I think implementing is where we will see how this goes. And I think, now that not many universities have implemented it, it's too soon to tell how good or how useful this is going to be. Let's see if time tells us. All right. So now coming back to the mental health section, I wanted to ask all of you, what is the one thing about being an educator that impacts your mental health and well-being the most? It can be positively or negatively. I leave that to you, and you can either choose to answer it out loud or use the chat box. I also leave that to you. Yeah, eager to know what you want to share. I know these answers can be very personal, so please don't feel obliged to answer them. It's only if you wish to share. I'm sure many of the educators feel, I mean, there is a good chance that many of educators face similar challenges, face the same kind of stresses as others. But what's important to know is that they are not alone. So it is with only this intention that I pose this question, not to prod you or anything. Yeah. Teachers are with eager minds. Sardar Hussain, thank you. Yeah, I think it's their eagerness and their enthusiasm that sticks to the students, right? When students go back home with a complete understanding of the topic discussed, that gives you pleasure, right, Chaitali? Yeah. All right, keep posting, keep those comments coming in. We have, I think we can spare a few more minutes. We have reached 5 p.m., but if all of you are okay with it, we can have a few more extra minutes in this meeting. So in this last few minutes, I just wanted to reiterate the way in which IndiaBioscience works for educators. So let me share the screen, and yeah, I mean, please keep those comments coming in the meantime. Okay, so yeah, so as I was saying earlier, we have a dedicated column for educators, and many of you have written for our education column. And if any of you are interested in writing for us, then do send in your pitches to education@indiabioscience.org. Just share a gist of what you wish to write about and how you think this would be useful to educators. So please send in your pitches to education@indiabioscience.org. We also have books, compendia, and Teaching Graduate Biology was our volume 2. And the first volume can be found on our website. We also have meetings and both in person and online meetings and workshops. So if you wish to have a workshop in your college and need some support from us, do write to us to share your idea. And yeah, keep an eye out for the Educators Monday thread. The last one went only yesterday because that was the last Monday of this month. We have a number of curated resources on our website. And if you think of something that we need to feature, some interesting resource that you use for your own classroom, and if you would like us to feature it on our website, do let us know. And we are just an email away. And we also have a database of researchers. One of the speakers mentioned how they had to collaborate with researchers to come up with projects that are suitable for research at the undergraduate level, a short project, perhaps something that probably doesn't take up too much money, as funding is definitely an important challenge. So if you need ideas, if you need to collaborate with researchers, at the same time, many researchers have to teach, and they may not have the right teaching skills, and they may want to have you discuss some of the pedagogical techniques that you use. So for all of those collaborations, IndiaBioscience would like to be a platform. So if you have some interesting ideas on how we can do this better, please let us know. And if you have any questions for us on any of these topics, please feel free to tell us about it. Okay, let me read a few more answers here. Too much involvement in getting it right results in loss of sleep. Saurabh, yeah. Aniruddha, yes, please. Aniruddha, can you, Shrutika, can you unmute him? Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. So someone's already mentioned this. I think a muted classroom is probably the worst thing possible. It's like just after you give a research talk, if you don't get questions, that feeling of awkwardness. But I think I found a way out. And I've been wanting to say this earlier also. That's why I raised my hand.
Okay.
It might sound a bit contentious, and it might not strike a chord with everyone here. But one way out is to ask them not to call you by by sir or madam. Just call you by name, because I think calling you sir, calling me sir, gives them like a false sense of respect, and they don't really come up. They're not really open to asking questions. They feel shy. But as soon as they call me by my name, it's like the world opens up for them. It's like I'm their buddy. So then it becomes far more interactive. Yeah, I just wanted to mention that.
Very interesting thought. Thank you. And, I don't know, I just took this liberty to call everybody today by their first names. I hope I haven't offended anybody, but I guess this is just something that IndiaBioscience does, is, to call people by their first names. Monica, please go ahead and share your thoughts. Sorry.
A mute classroom is something which is disturbing. It actually is. You prepare and you go to a classroom and you expect, you try your best, right? You want that every student should get the hang of it. So, and the teacher gets to know how are things going. It's so natural. But what I feel is, because in a college of a Delhi university, you have students coming from different socioeconomic backgrounds. So I tell you an incident. I was teaching environmental science to physical science course. It was their ability enhancement compulsory course. And, because it's basic environmental science course, and you go walk up to the class and you think that you did wonderful job. And I asked the students, you understood everything? At the end of the class, you say, have you understood? What is it you don't understood? And there was a last row of the students who were they were not able to say anything, but when they were making faces. And when I was when I was leaving the class, they also walked along. And they said, ma'am, aap to English mein padha rahi thi. Hame samajh hi nahi aaya. So, it is very important that one has to understand where from these kids are coming in. So I felt so bad that day that, I was talking for an hour, 55 minutes, and these students did not understand the language, the language I was talking in. And I made it a point to, after that incident, I think it was 2007, 2008, when I was in this class. So that day I decided that, walk up to the last bench and see, are they also understanding it or not? So before I start my classes, I spend some time to know what my class is, who is coming from where, what, to gauge what kind of socioeconomic background they are coming from, look at them for a while, not, making them feel that I'm looking at them, their way, the behavior, their etiquettes, many things, because it all is a combination of various factors when they sit in the classroom. So that made me feel upset that there is inequity somewhere. But yeah, if students respond and they start answering, and if you're asking questions and they respond, and second is when they ask questions, you feel, yes, it's an interactive classroom and it makes you very happy. It is depressing when you get to know that student had to leave the course in between because he could not afford to stay in Delhi, because fee in university is not that high, but the cost of living is too high. It is very depressing. It disturbs me a lot when I get to know that a student had to leave the course and he was doing fairly okay because staying in Delhi was unaffordable for the parents. So these things are so common. And every third year one gets to know that, this girl has been, she's got married, though it's not now happening. But till 2010, 2012, this was also happening. A topper of the class would suddenly vanish from the class because she got married. So I used to feel so bad that why don't parents understand this? So as a teacher, I would say that this would hurt me a lot.
Thank you for sharing that, Monica. I see some more very interesting responses. Rudra says, when the students get back to you with lots of questions the next day, that's the satisfaction. And Monica, you raised a very important point about diversity. I think it's something that's extremely important for us as a diverse country to respect, right? And Ravindranath also, concurs, never judge and assume. Diversity is so important, so true. We have recently come up with a DEI poster with a hope of, encouraging more diversity and inclusion. So DEI, as you all know, is diversity, equity, and inclusivity. And we have a poster about it. And if you want, you can download it just as a reminder of how diverse our country is, and to help us appreciate it every day. On that note, I think it's time for us to wrap up. I hope you enjoyed this session, and I completely understand if 10 minutes for each theme is definitely short, and I'm sure some of you were not able to share your thoughts, and I'm very sorry about that. But if you feel that we should have a session on a particular topic in a much greater detail, please share that in the feedback form that we'll be sharing now. Karishma has shared the link for the DEI poster. Thank you, Karishma. So if you wish to have a look, please, you can have it. The link is right here. And Shrutika, I hope you have shared the feedback form. If not, you can do that now. The feedback form is right here, and Shrutika will also be sharing the website where you can find all our content and activities for educators. And you can also subscribe to our newsletter and follow us on social media to stay updated. On that note, thank you once again to all of you for joining us, and hope to see you soon in our next webinar. Thank you.